Well, welcome, Rick. Rick Scalise has come to Temple Emmanuel for as long as I've been with Temple Emmanuel and probably before. And Rick is fantastic. He's just, like I said, just so talented. So you'll be in for a treat. He's going to play some classical music, and he always gives us some show tunes as well, Broadway show tunes.
Yep, that'll be wonderful.
Are you ready to go, or you need a few more minutes, Rick?
Oh no, yeah, I'm all good.
Wonderful, wonderful. So Sam, if more people come on, you'll just let them in? Perfect. All right. Well, again, Rick Scalise is here. He lives in Lexington, right? Lexington?
Yep.
He's in Lexington, so we saved him the trip in.
Yeah, right.
I think I saved everybody a trip in. And take it away, Rick. I'm just, beside playing, Rick also talks about the background of the performer, of the musician. He gives a little history. And like I said, you will always learn something with Rick. So thank you, Rick. Thank you for doing this.
All right. Yeah, this is awesome. This is great. So the end of this month is Mozart's birthday, and I always try to sneak in a little something by Mozart. So I thought I'd start off with Mr. Mozart, and I could be here until next week just talking about all these guys, all these great composers. But Mozart started writing music at 5 years old and died at 35. And this is something he wrote late in life, around the age of, I think, 30 or 31 years old. And it's variations on what we know as Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star, which is originally a French children's song during the time he was alive. But in America, we know it as Twinkle, Twinkle, Baba, Black Sheep, and the ABCs. So it's all the same melody. Anyway, Mozart wrote this wild theme and variations on what we know mostly as Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. And again, his birthday is the 27th of the month, and honor Mozart a little bit with variations that he wrote on Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Okay, so that's Mozart and his piano variations on what we know most famously as Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. Also the ABCs, Baba Black Sheep. And again, the original theme there was during Mozart's lifetime, a French children's song. I have it in French. I can't speak French, but I think it translates to my dear, something like my dear sweet mother is in the title. Anyway, we know that commonly as Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. So that was fast and loud, a lot of notes. I hope it came out through the Zoom, but we'll contrast that with something a little slower and softer. And again, I like to mix in classical and semi-classical along with classic Broadway, which I love. And I hope the day comes soon when we can see shows again. I miss live performances. But in the meantime, here is a little bit of Rodgers and Hammerstein. My personal favorite duos were Rodgers and Hammerstein and Lerner and Lowe, another great duo. So I'll be sneaking them in along the way today. But here's the end of Act 1 of The Sound of Music from 1959, Climb Every Mountain. Okay, thank you. That's, of course, Rodgers and Hammerstein. The Sound of Music, one of their later shows that they wrote together, 1959. Climb Every Mountain. Here's something else that's a little on the softer side and lyrical side. This is going back to some semi-classical music, and there was a circle of friends that inspired and influenced each other. There was Chopin, Franz Liszt, Mendelssohn, and Robert Schumann, who I have. I'll play a little something by this person, this little circle, and I'll try to get to some Chopin later, another person, this circle of friends. So Robert Schumann died very young, like a lot of the composers I have today. He only made it to 44 years old. And this is one of his earlier works, which he's most known for the piano. It's called Tremorai, which is, I think that translates to dreaming or to dream. So it sounds very dreamlike. And it was a famous encore that Horowitz used to play in his concerts pretty much throughout his career. So I think the first time I heard this was, listening to an old record of Horowitz live. And he played this as an encore. And that's the first time I ever heard it. And it's really short and beautiful. And I think you'll know it from the first opening notes. So this is Robert Schumann. This is considered semi-classical music from the mid-19th century. And his piano work called Tremorai, Dreaming or To Dream. Thank you. So that is Robert Schumann. And again, in a little bit, I'll try to play some music by his close friend who was Chopin. So I have one of my favorite nocturnes that I'll play in a little bit by Chopin. But as always, I do like to play an eclectic mix of music. So we had Mozart in celebration of his birthday, the end of the month. That's truly classical music. And I do have another one of my personal favorite duos. As I mentioned before, I love Rodgers and Hammerstein. And another great duo was Lerner and Lowe. So this is a really awesome show. It's about I think it's like a little over 3 hours in length, kind of like an opera. And it's My Fair Lady from 1956. So I have a few songs from My Fair Lady, starting with On the Street Where You Live. And then I'll play I Could Have Danced All Night. So those are every song from the show is a hit, but these are the two bigger hits. Starting with On the Street Where You Live. Again, Lerner and Lowe from 1956. Okay, that is On the Street Where You Live, Lerner and Lowe from My Fair Lady. And the next piece is also from My Fair Lady. This is I Could Have Danced All Night. That's probably one of the bigger hits. And that's toward the end of Act 1. So we'll sneak in a little bit of I Could Have Danced All Night. Thank you. All right, thank you very much. So those are two of many, many, many beautiful songs from My Fair Lady, Lerner and Lowe. And earlier, I had that very short composition by Robert Schumann, and I mentioned how he was within the circle of friends of Franz Liszt and Mendelssohn and Chopin. And sometimes, I'm not doing it today, but maybe next time we do a Zoom concert here, I could play actually all their music back to back. And if I weren't to say who wrote what, it would sound like it's all by one person, because they were all close friends and their style were so similar to each other, that if you didn't know who wrote what, you'd think it was all by one person. So anyway, this is a little bit of Chopin, and it's my personal favorite nocturne, which he wrote at 21 years old. This is another guy that died way too young. He died at, I think, 39 years old from tuberculosis. And yeah, so this is a nocturne and a night work that he wrote at 21 years old. It's very mature music. And I think you'll know it from the first, like, 3 notes. Very, very famous. So a nocturne, something that evokes the night, a night work. Thank you. Thank you. That is, again, Chopin, great Polish composer, who died very young, as well as some of these other guys that I have today, 39 years old. And that's one of his earliest compositions, one of his many beautiful nocturnes, something that evokes the night, a night work. And that's the Nocturne number 2 that he wrote at 21 years old. Let's see, I had planned something by, oh yes, a Russian composer that I have behind me. And this is he was a concert pianist, composer, and a conductor. This is Rachmaninoff, and he wrote several piano concertos and symphonies. And nearly everything he composed was in a sort of a classical, semi-classical style. But in real life, he was very close friends with George Gershwin. He was actually seated in the front row at the premiere of the Rhapsody in Blue concerto by Gershwin, and other great jazz, non-classical composers of the day. But this is one of my favorite piano concertos by Rachmaninoff. It's the last one that he composed, number 5. And it's the 18th variation out of 32 variations that make up the piano concerto, which is called Rhapsody on a Theme of Paganini. And a little bit of music theory today. It's kind of neat to know what's behind the theme. So the whole concerto is about 20 minutes long, and it's these 32 variations all on a theme by Paganini. And you'd think you get really sick of hearing the same theme, 30 plus times, but each time you hear the theme, it's, a little exciting and different. So anyway, halfway through the 18th variation, he takes the idea and musically, mathematically flips it upside down. So when you take your notes and you invert it upside down, you get this. So it's the same music, but it's basically flipped upside down. And he puts these really beautiful chords underneath the upside down variation, and it sounds totally different. So this theme that I'll play has been used in movies. It's very romantic sounding, and it's my favorite part of the concerto because it sounds so different. And again, you'll know it right away from the first several notes. This is the Russian Rachmaninoff, his piano concerto, which is called Rhapsody on a Theme of Paganini, variation number 18, where the theme is flipped upside down. Okay, thank you, thank you. That is Rachmaninoff, and I love his musical language, as we call it. You'll have some, straight ahead, beautiful melodies, and along the way, he'll throw in some of these weird, at times like wrong notes, but kind of like in jazz music, the wrong notes can sound good. So that's his style. You take a simple chord, and he'll add some biting, dissonant notes. And actually, George Gershwin did the same thing in a lot of his music as well. So anyway, that's from 1931, 1932. He wrote that concerto, Rhapsody on a Theme of Paganini. Again, Mr. Rachmaninoff, and he was asked to be conductor in the 1920s, full-time conductor of the Boston Symphony, which unfortunately he turned down the gig and he ended up in California, but that would have been pretty awesome if he stayed in Boston. So that is Rachmaninoff. Here is, I'm going back to some Rodgers and Hammerstein. This is from The King and I, 1950, I think, 1950, 51. The King and I, and this is in Act 1, Getting to Know You. Thank you. All right, that is, again, Rodgers and Hammerstein, Getting to Know You, from, I think, 1950 or 51. Actually, the same year, or close to the same year, was another great Broadway show, which is by Mr. Meredith Willson. And this was his one and only, oh no, I lied. He wrote two shows, but this one is the most famous, The Music Man, I think 1950. Meredith Willson. That 10 years later, he did write something else, which is not quite as memorable as The Music Man, but Meredith Willson was a classically trained composer, and on the side, he wrote jazz and popular style music, and he caught the attention of a producer who commissioned him to write The Music Man, and that's what made him super, super famous. And I'm trying to find my favorite song from the show, which was also made popular by the Beatles on their second album. Oh, here it is, Till There Was You. So I really love this song. It's got some really nice jazz chords. But yeah, Meredith Willson, classically trained. He wrote mostly orchestral music, and on the side wrote pop, and then became very, very famous thanks to his Music Man production. So here's Till There Was You, which happens toward the end of Act 2, I think it was also 1950. Meredith Willson. Thank you. Thank you. All right. That's a little bit of Meredith Willson, the Music Man. Okay, so that was a nice reflective composition there. Till There Was You. As I mentioned before, Mozart's birthday, the end of the month. So at the beginning, we had variations on Twinkle, Twinkle, Little Star. This actually next is also something he wrote late in life in his early 30s. And it's part of one of his many piano sonatas. And it's independently played outside of the sonata that it was written for. It has a nickname. Some people call it the Turkish March. Technically, it's Rondo Alaterka. And not to get too technical with, terminology, but rondo means what you hear in the opening, you're going to hear many, many times. That's basically a rondo. One of the famous rondos I play of Beethoven is for Elise. So that what you hear in the opening, you hear many, many times. So this is a famous rondo by Mozart. Again, you'll know it from the first, 4 or 5 notes. Turkish March, or officially it's called the Rondo Alaterka, written in late in life, again by the great Mozart. much. So that's another composition by the great Mozart. Before I played Mozart, I was demonstrating with Beethoven for Elise. I realized I should play that because it's super famous. And if anyone out there in the Zoom world, if you took piano lessons, chances are you had to learn probably any of these popular, classical or semi-classical pieces today, but especially this next one, for Elise. It's very, very popular as, when you're taking piano lessons. Eventually, that's one of the pieces the teacher will give. That's what I give all my students. Every single person has always had to learn for Elise on the piano. And I even, I teach guitar. You can see all my stuff around here. Guitar, piano, everyone has to learn for Elise. It's a rite of passage. So long story short, he wrote this at 41 years old, and he was well over half deaf, some people say. And at the time he was teaching a 17-year-old student of his who he was friends with the family, friends with the parents. And anyway, he was very much infatuated with his student and planned on marrying her. They were very much in love, and it didn't work out, but her real name was Teresa, and his pet name for her was Elise. So he wrote this piece for his student, and in German, Für Elise. It's a dedication. And even though things didn't work out between them, at least he wrote this amazing, amazing song. And you'll know it from the first two notes. And I bet people out there had to learn Für Elise, or in German, Für Elise, by the great Beethoven, which he composed it when he was half deaf at the time, at 41. right. Thank you. Thank you. That's, I forgot to mention, well, I mentioned it earlier, but that's a famous rondo, musical rondo. What you hear in the opening, you hear several times throughout the composition. And anyway, that's a famous rondo by the great Beethoven, für Elise in German, or in English, sometimes we would just say für Elise. So I hope that brought back good memories if anyone had to take piano lessons, and not nightmares. I don't want to bring back any nightmares. That's not good. Okay. And going back to some Broadway, I was saving time at the end to play some Tchaikovsky, another great Russian concert pianist, composer, conductor. But before I end with some Tchaikovsky, we'll sneak in another great composition here, going back to Rodgers and Hammerstein. And this is from, when was this written? 1949, from the South Pacific. And it is Some Enchanted Evening. Thank you. All right, that is, of course, Some Enchanted Evening from 1949, I'm pretty sure, 1949. Rodgers and Hammerstein, South Pacific. So along the way today, you know, at the beginning we had Mozart. I have short-term memory, but I know also there was Robert Schumann and Chopin, two close friends. Also some Beethoven in there, sprinkled in with lots of Broadway. And there was also the great Russian Rachmaninoff. And actually, when he was a student, he was he met his idol, who was Tchaikovsky. His teacher's friend was Tchaikovsky. So going to the Moscow Conservatory, he met his idol. So I thought recently I've been ending with Tchaikovsky from December through, I like to play all the way through December, all the way through January, ending with my favorite piece from the Nutcracker Ballet by Tchaikovsky, Waltz of the Flowers. I always try to play some sort of a waltz in my programs. It's usually a Strauss waltz or a Broadway waltz or something. But anyway, this time of the year, I really love Waltz of the Flowers. And it's something I improvise on because it's for full orchestra, there's harp and all that stuff. And anyway, hopefully, we can all see it live again in a year, next year. But in the meantime, we'll end with Waltz of the Flowers by the great Russian concert pianist, composer, conductor, Tchaikovsky, and Waltz of the Flowers. right. Well, thank you very much. That's of course Nutcracker Ballet. There, the Waltz of the Flowers from Nutcracker, Tchaikovsky, and we had Rachmaninoff, some Mozart, Beethoven, Chopin, Schumann, Robert Schumann, and lots of Broadway. As always, I love playing a little eclectic mix, and if people have favorites, you can always let me know, or I'll try to remember. I'll try to remember from when I was there in person back in the day. George Gershwin. I didn't play Gershwin last time or this time, so next time we'll get to some Gershwin and some other great composers.
Rick, thank you. This was wonderful. I actually wrote down the performers this time, because usually I'm at the temple and I'm running around. So I wanted to, because I try to take it in what you're playing, and then what happens is I don't remember it. So this time I wrote it down so I'll know. And I actually learned a lot because I don't have a music background. So this was great. It was really beautiful. Thank you so much.
Well, thank you.
And Rick, as always, such a pleasure. And of course, we'll have Rick come back in the future. So absolutely. So thank you. Thank you. I hope everyone enjoyed the concert today. And we'll see everybody on Thursday for Zumba at 1 o'clock. And then next Monday for exercise, total body workout at 1 o'clock. And next Tuesday, we have Lisa Eves doing the music of Barbara Streisand at 1 o'clock. So again, thank you, Rick. It was wonderful seeing you. And thanks, everybody. Thank you so much. Have a wonderful day, and enjoy the celebration on TV tomorrow for the inauguration.